Hey, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom. This is Naaman with Great Millstone Camp here in DC, back with another video. But first and foremost, call halal Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushua, Ba'Hashem Rekah HaKodesh, and of course, once again, double honors go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who were well. Salutations also go out to the fellow Akim that are out there on the highways and byways, all right, pushing the truth, all right, aided by, of course, the numerous videos that go out, all right, throughout the four corners of the earth, all right, and spreading the truth, all right. And that truth is who the real Israelites of the Bible are, the Hebrew Israelites of the Bible, all right. And doing so, I know the time allotted to us, because that time is growing short. You're seeing the prophecies, the last several to be fulfilled, that are actually unfolding before our very eyes, all right. Now, let me go ahead and do the copyright disclaimer here. This is under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. However, nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. All right, so I found this beautiful video. This is from the Jimmy Dore show, and it says Israeli soldier expresses regrets and unalives himself. Got to stand up on this one. Yes, sir. Beautiful. These pieces of shit. All right. Wholesale slaughter for over 2 years. Let's go, and before we even start, let's go ahead and start. Let's hear this beautiful report as he reads.
October 7th, the date that ruined my life and destroyed everything I was. I can't anymore. I am ruin and devastation. I did things that cannot be forgiven. And I can't live with it anymore. No one understands me anyway. There is it. I wonder what he thinks he did that can't be forgiven. So a bit of sad news, or maybe not for you. There's an IDF soldier offed himself, and he made a Facebook post about how screwed up he is for serving in the Israeli bombing. And, what everybody's saying is a genocide in Gaza. So I'll read this to you. It says, Lithuanian Israeli officer who served in Gaza ended his life and wrote on Facebook before doing so, October 7th, the date that ruined my life and destroyed everything I was. I can't anymore. I am ruin and devastation. I did things that cannot be forgiven. And I can't live with it anymore. No one understands me anyway. There is it. I wonder what he thinks he did that can't be forgiven. So there might be a twist to this. So let's read the rest of it. There is a demon inside me that has been chasing me since October 7th. Please forget me and remember the Thomas, who was an officer and a sniper. So he wants to be remembered as an officer and a sniper commander? Isn't that weird? That he would then off himself because he did things that cannot be forgiven? Huh. But he still wants to be remembered as an officer. And isn't that weird, right? So what is he trying to be? Anyway, so that Thomas died on the 7th. That Thomas died on October 7th. I am only a soul searching for peace. For 2 years now, I haven't been able to live with myself. He was a Lithuanian Israeli named Thomas Adzagakis. And this is from Haaretz, Hebrew Media. But it's from Warfare Analysis Twitter account. So he wants to be remembered as a sniper commander? That's something to be proud of, right? Don't they snipe children? So Sia says, well, he finally killed a terrorist. Raj says, a sniper commander? I guess he didn't think sniping kids will come back to haunt him. Still, if he was truly sorry about what he did, he would have exposed the whole thing instead of taking his life. Right?
Mm-hmm.
This guy says, the hard truth says, he probably talking about the Hannibal Directive. They massacred their own people on October 7th. So is that what he's talking about?
Well, he said the
That
7th.
he massacred his own people on October 7th? Is that what he's talking about? That he was one of those guys who was told to kill his own people? Is that what this is, the stuff he can't be forgiven for? Because he wants to be remembered as an IDF sniper and commander.
My energy bill dropped from $150 to $50 by doing this. My friends laughed at me when I spent $49.
Let's check that out real
The
quick.
guy before October 7th. So
The Hannibal Directive. Let's blow it up a little bit. The Hannibal Directive, also translated as Hannibal Procedure or Hannibal Protocol, is the name of a controversial procedure used by the Israeli Defense Forces to prevent the capture of Israeli soldiers by enemy forces. So that's how they're framing it. Author I.L. Wiseman has described a 2014 Israeli policy stating that the kidnapping must be stopped by all means, even at the price of striking and harming our own forces. It was introduced in 1986 after a number of abductions of IDF soldiers in Lebanon and subsequent controversial prisoner exchanges. The full text of the directive was never published, and until 2003, Israeli military censorship forbade any discussion of the subject in the press. The directive has been changed several times. Of course it has, because I'm going to show you how this is bullshit. All right, and in 2016, Gadi Eisenkot ordered the formal revocation of the standing directive and the reformulation of the protocol. I'm going to show you, let's go a little longer on the video, then I'm going to come back to this and show you how much bullshit that is. All right, and why you can never trust what comes out of the mouth of these devils. That's exactly what they are, devils. All right.
it's maybe doesn't that seem plausible that maybe he can't live with himself because if he had to take part of the Hannibal Directive? I don't know, but that sounds very plausible. Sounds more.
See, this goes more toward how they control their own citizens, that at some point they're going to grow a conscience. All right, and I'm going to show you again. Let's go a little further in the video, but I'm going to show you how from very young how they are trained. All right, the brainwashing that goes into this.
More plausible. That's what I think. I mean, as if it wasn't hard enough to get sympathy for this guy's letter, he's not even sorry for what he actually did, it sounds like, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like some guy saying he couldn't. Yeah. Well,
in other words, not for what I did to these defenseless people. All right. Again, I'm going to show you.
Here, former Israeli Prime Minister Yoav Gallant admits Israel killed its own with Hannibal Directive on October 7th and blamed Hamas, helicopters, drones, and tanks for use. So we know this. We've already
gone over there, but this is something I had to read. I've done a couple of videos on this topic right here, and this is from 2011. This is Jeff Rentz from his site, rentz.com. The Zionist Roots, and let's get this out the way. I'm going to start. Let's see, let's go to Luke 12:2, and it says, all right, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. See, you're witnessing, as I said in my opening, about time being short. You're seeing things speed up now because more and more people are peeping the game that's being played. All right, everything's this whole wall of secrecy that they depended on is collapsing. This house of cards of lies. All right, this is all falling down. Anyway, the Zionist roots of the war on terror. We must have this. These people must believe that we have these people that are continually trying to kill us. After all, we are the Israelites. Israel's policy of covert aggression. I assume you know what covert is, all right, as opposed to overt. Okay, let's go on. Until recently, and this is the author, says by Henry McCall, PhD. All right. Until recently, I accepted Israel's self-image as a beleaguered, peace-loving nation in a sea of bloodthirsty Arabs. And that's what's been pushed for 80 years now. All right. The idea that this tiny state had imperialist designs seemed ludicrous. But what if, unknown to most people, including Israelis, the world's power elite were using Israel to advance their New World Order? After all, who financed the archaeological digs and all this when it pertains to the land of Israel? It was the Rothschilds, right? There's a video of Jacob Rothschild, the late Jacob Rothschild, stating that very same thing, that because of the Rothschilds, Israel, as you know it today, exists. All right, so this is not what many will like to just sweep under the rug and call conspiracy theory. No. Continuing on, all right. What if, unknown to most people, including Israelis, the world's power elite were using Israel to advance their New World Order? What if Israel's role were to colonize the Middle East and become the seat of the world religion? Of course. All right. With America wrapped around its thumb. Israel's Sacred Terrorism, 1980, by Livia Rocock, a 63-page online monograph, suggests that this bizarre scenario may not be so preposterous. All right, and you can look that up for yourself. That's right here. All right. Rocock's monograph is based on revelations from the personal diary of Moshe Sharat, who was Israel's first foreign minister from 1948 to 56 and prime minister from 54 to 56. According to his diary, which Israel tried to suppress, Israel's image of vulnerability was a ruse. Do you know what a ruse is? All right. Israel has always planned to become the dominant power in the region. Now, what does this sound like? We know that throughout history and according to scripture, there's one people that fit this bill. They're covetous, almost beyond description, to the point of avarice. All right. It says they have always planned to become the dominant power in that region. And this reeks of what? From the time of 1492. We're talking about the same people, folks. The nation of Edom. This is their manifest destiny. And this is just a newer chapter on that. All right. And invented dangers in order to dupe its citizens and provoke wars. In his diary, Sharat quotes and a conversation with Army Chief of Staff Moshe Dayan in May of 1955. We face no danger at all of an Arab advantage of force for the next 8 to 10 years. Reprisal actions which we couldn't carry out if we were tied to a security pact are our vital lymph. They make it possible for us to maintain a high level of tension in our population and in the army. Without these actions, we would have ceased to be a combative people. Sharet concludes, the state, talking about Israel, must see the sword as the main, if not the only, instrument with which to keep its morale high and to retain its moral tension. Toward this end, it must invent dangers, and to do this, it must adopt the method of provocation and revenge. And above all, let us hope for a new war with the Arab countries so that we may firmly get rid of our troubles and acquire our space. And it was during this time that president of Israel at that time. Remember, this is the 50s, and he made a statement at some point during these years about how Israelites had left black and they came back white. Gabal Nasser, Gabal, good Lord, Abdel Nasser. All right, Gabal Abdel Nasser, that was his name. Still to this day, people, speak highly of him, even though he's been dead for, was it 70 or 71? Anyway, let's see. Continuing on. All right. Let's see. And above all, let us hope for a new war with the Arab countries so that we finally get rid of our troubles and acquire our space. This has been going on for, at this point, 70 years. Yeah. So they never planned to let up. They never planned for any peace. All this shit, these stall tactics, all right, it's just to maintain complete dominance of that region. Remember, it was a ruse. They knew they weren't in any danger. Look who they eventually had to back them up. This, people, is what Kennedy, when he got in office, was trying to prevent. That coupled with Vietnam, I hope you're starting to see a very, very dark picture. All right. Covert aggression. This policy of reprisals or provocation and revenge was also called covert aggression. The U.S. war on terror is a continuation of it. People ain't no real threat. But we've got to convince the people that they are, and they're trying to do it again as I speak and make this video with this shit that happened here in D.C. where the National Guardsmen were shot. We must fear these crazy Arabs again. This is all a continuation of this. All right, but like I say, it's falling apart. People are starting to, you know what? Fuck this shit. Even the TPUSA, the Charlie Kirk organization. All right, this is why they want that to continue, and everybody's speculating now because they're trying to. For those of you that aren't aware, they're trying to set up podcast with Candace Owens, and they want her to come personally. And she's saying, no, the date that you chose, which is her husband's birthday, and it's also the start of the JOO's Hanukkah. All right. And she said, no, is you let me know too late, but we can always do, you can do Zoom or whatever have you, like they regularly do with other guests. And in the responses, you can see that they're lying. And I think it's a setup, but nobody likes Candace anyway. She dug her own grave, whatever. But that's what's going on. And the thing with TPUSA is this young Christian organization that before he died, a couple of months actually, he was in correspondence with Netanyahu. And he let him know that you are losing because of what happened October 7, 2023. And everything since then, it's like people are just going to forget that, what they've seen over the last 2 years. But he's letting you know social media is crushing you. All right, and that was one of the last, because he was starting to ask questions, which you can imagine a person leading a right-wing organization like that, and they couldn't have that because they depend so much on the U.S. And if that money and the weapons dry up, because again, everybody else is like, fuck this shit. This is bullshit. But you got these dumb, stupid Americans that they've been able to convinced over the years, hey, you're a Christian. And these dumb, stupid Americans evidently don't look at YouTube or anything. And these Israelis over there spitting on them when they go over there. But that doesn't make the news. I mean, they absolutely loathe the Christians. And yet you're giving them all this money and support. How stupid can you be? They hate you. All right, but anyway, back to this. It says, as an example, Israeli patrols will cross the border to attack Jordanians or Egyptians and then claim the actions took place in Israel. Once attacked, the army pursued the aggressors into enemy territory and wreaked havoc. Ariel Sharon, the late prime minister, was the leader of a squad, Unit 101, that specialized in these murderous forays. His 1953 raid on the Jordanian village of Kabaya killed dozens of civilians. In March 54, an Israeli bus traveling between Eilat and Beersheba was attacked and 10 passengers were killed. The UN Armistice Commissioner, a Colonel Henderson, said, "From the testimonies of the survivors, it is not proved that all the murderers were Arabs." He attributed the attack to terrorist intent on increasing the tensions in the area. Thereupon, the Israelis left the Armistice Commission in protest. Now, let's look that up. United Nations. All right. Chief representatives from that time. Black Shay M. Bryan. All right. Major General of the Army. It gives you the names here. Rear Admiral so-and-so. 2 Rear Admirals. All right. Major General. All right. But this is the organization here. United Nations Command Military Armistice Commission for that time period. All right. The Armistice Commission is composed of 10 senior officers, 5 of whom are appointed by the Commander-in-Chief of the United Nations Forces, and 5 of them are jointly appointed by the Supreme Commander of the Corps of the Korean People's Army, which you scroll down here. All right. Just their way of trying to keep the peace in the region. But back to this. All right. So this Hannibal directive that I went into over here, this is just, like I said, it's been reformulated and redone over the years to kind of suit whatever purpose. So what they're actually saying is that this IDF soldier that just offed himself, felt so guilty. And there were others that they interviewed, and they was like, we were told to stand down on the wall. And that particular region there is the most surveilled, one of the most surveilled areas on the planet. And then you're going to tell your men to stand down at this particular point? What? Meaning they needed that to happen. They needed an excuse. All right, because something else to consider is the Ben Gurion Canal that they want to build, and they want also, this is connected to that, of course, but they want to make this playground for the super rich over there. They got an area that they want to build, and they've discovered minerals and all that. But the thing is, the Ben Gurion Canal is something that they could control, or they don't with the Suez. All right, so they want to take that all the way down to the Gulf of Aqaba. All right, so let's see, what did I leave off? In June to July 1954, an Israeli terrorist squad blew up many British and American institutions in Cairo in an attempt to sour relations between the Arabs and the West. Look at that. To play the Arabs and the West against each other so the West would join sides with them. Dubbed the Lavon Affair, possibly this was a precursor to the attack on the World Trade Center. Read between the lines, folks. This was 54 when this happened. From the point of view of covert aggression, if terrorism didn't exist, Israel would have to create it. Possibly Israel's security establishment inspired some recent attacks on Israelis. In some instances, the terrorists are described as white. Remember, the sniper who killed 10 Israeli reservists at a checkpoint, if he were Arab, wouldn't he have struck again? Most Arab terrorism is no doubt authentic, but I wouldn't be surprised if at critical junctures, Israeli security establishment was behind it. Israeli commentators lament that Israel is not a democracy. They say its security establishment has hijacked the country. One pundit remarked, Israel is not a state with an army, but an army with an affiliated state. They also lament that a culture of corruption, brutality, and immorality pervades the army. Of course, you just saw a video just a while back about their protesting the right to rape their prisoners. Yes. And they showed you on video about them surrounding some poor guy with their shields and everything and molesting him, sexually assaulting him on the site. These are the perverts and whatever else you want to, these wicked MFs. All right, and these are the people that all this money and support gets thrown behind. See, they have socialism there, all right, because of stupid Americans. But stupid Americans, particularly of the Edomite nation here, you can't have any of that because of their hatred of us. We could have had free health care decades ago, but nope. Those Negroes are going to get it, and, we can't have socialism here, but you're being taken advantage of. That's why this is beautiful, really. This is a beautiful thing. I love it. All right, this place is falling apart. All right, and these people here are too stupid to see that. All right, APAC and all that. You talk all this shit about foreign countries and invading and all this, and you've had this one that's been manipulating you from the start. All in your politics, having politicians that don't agree with their agenda in their own country, a foreign country, having them removed. Yeah. Your president that you were so eager to elect a second time, Trump, he converted to Judaism, so he's one of them. This is a fucking joke, man. All right, let's see. They also lament that a culture of corruption, brutality, and immorality pervades this army. You got, I believe, the Illuminati controls Israel's security establishment. These are your 13 families, all right, that control this world, period. All right. Somebody just came out with a stat the other day about, it was one of the Occam that put it in the group chat about, these Mike was going off talking about how much richer, I think it was the 1% have gotten. And, it's, wow, it's, but it's worse to come. Just you wait. All right, and it goes into the Illuminati, but you can read that on yourself. But let's this here, the uses of anti-Semitism, which there is no word. There's no such thing as a Semite. All right. Boy, you people have been played. The Illuminati has always used anti-Semitism to trick Jews into advancing its nefarious goals. In the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, the speaker confesses the Illuminati has wiped out every kind of rule except our own. Nevertheless, it allows attacks on its plan for world domination in order to create anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is indispensable to us for the management of our lesser brethren. From childhood, Jews are taught that they are disliked for no rational reason, and Israel is insurance against under the Holocaust. And that's something else to consider because everybody, you have no idea how many comments that I see that they quote the Austrian painter was right all along, as the phrase goes. All right. He says they're taught, about their being disliked for no reason. This attitude dehumanizes their opponents and obviates, all right, or prevents the need for genuine self-criticism. All right. Often the question is not, is something true or false, right or wrong, but is it good for the Jews? In other words, let none of this go to waste. We can use it. Anti-Semitism. Remember, you're not liked because you're the chosen. All right. Traumatizing people and convincing them that irrational fiends threaten their survival is an effective form of mind control. All right. These are those lesser brethren they're talking about. All right. Such people will throw morality and reason to the wind and, if necessary, become savage, mindless killers themselves. They are easily exploited by forces that may not be Jewish at all, that may be anti-Semitic, and plot their destruction. Now, the Illuminati is using the same tactic on Americans. The Mossad's fingerprints are all over 9/11. Apparently, Israel's Zim container lines moved their 200-man office out of the World Trade Center the week before, and no Israelis died in the attack. And it gives you another article here. It says 7 of the supposed Arab attackers seem to be alive. If Osama bin Laden didn't exist, the United States and Britain would have created him. Osama may be genuine, but there is evidence that he has received money from the British MI6, that's their intelligence, as recently as 1996. All right. According to the French Daily, bin Laden met with the CIA station chief in Dubai in July 2001. He serves the purpose of those inciting a bogus clash of civilizations. In the domestic sphere, the persecution of Jews has become a cultural paradigm. Lately, women and gays are the Jews. Taught they're oppressed by heterosexuality, and homosexuality is normal. Millions of lives are being ruined. The Illuminati's hidden agenda is to destroy society's immune system, its ability to resist totalitarianism by attacking its red blood cell, the nuclear family. And we know that when BLM and those pieces of shit, it was revealed that one of their, what do you call them? Somebody looked it up and they found one of their objectives was to destroy the nuclear family unit of the so-called African American, and they quickly removed that from their from the site. Yeah, and you know who provided the funding for that, and that was George Soros. So see, and who led that organization? Initially, it was for homosexuals, but the guy, he got pushed out somehow, and you were left with 3 dykes. Yep, one of which got caught up in what was she doing, buying real estate or some shit. Yeah. So this is what you're dealing with. Like I said, there's nothing hidden. It's not going to be exposed. And they know this. That's why they're trying to move quickly and establish this digital currency, all right, to get people locked in. Because, hey, according to the scripture, Revelation 13 chapter, verses 16 through 18, all right, you take that, essentially you're saying that this so-called white man, he's your God. And in the next chapter, in chapter 14, verse 9, it tells you what's going to happen to you. There's no coming back from that. All right. So, hey, we've been out there on the highways and byways trying to warn you. Hey, this is not the time to be lollygagging and, playtime has been over. But of course, Jake, masters of procrastination. We shall see.
We've already, this has been reported widely. We know this. This guy says, Michael Wiley says, seriously, stop with the propaganda. No one is buying this fake narrative. The spike in IDF suicides has to do with their illegal and inhumane actions. It's the psychological blowback of a genocide, mandatory conscription, trauma, and a system that chews its own people up and turns them into psychotic monsters.
What did I just read?
That's documented fact. And yes, some soldiers have openly admitted to doing things they can't live with. That's their words, not mine. But pretending every single one is suddenly a saint who discovered morals is fan fiction. If you actually cared about Israel, you'd want the war crimes investigated, the occupation ended, and mental health support improved, not posting emotional manipulation to excuse decades of abuse and genocide. Learn the facts, okay? That's what he says. Until then, no one gives an F about immoral IDF terrorists. And as far as the world is concerned, they have no place in civil society with their heinous actions against humanity. Israel is a Zionist terrorist state. So he's saying that is, so this post about this guy feeling horrible is propaganda to get you to somehow forgive those people because they have a conscience. And he's saying, don't fall for it.
There you go.
That this has to do with their inhumane actions, the psychological blowback of a genocide, mandatory conscription, which means mandatory service in the military, trauma, and a system that chews its own people up and turns them into psychotic monsters.
I was embarrassing myself in front of my mother-in-law until this $20 knife changed everything. So I'm at my...
So, and he's saying, don't do it. Don't feel sorry. Chris Hedges says, children have been shot in other conflicts I've covered, but never before have I watched as soldiers entice children like mice into a trap and murdered them for sport.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Chris Hedges says he's witnessed the IDF, the Israeli soldiers, doing in Gaza.
The Austrian painter was right.
I like this definition of Zionism. It says an inherently violent and terroristic movement for colonizing Palestine through the theft of Palestinian land and the ethnic cleansing of an indigenous Palestinians in order to create a Jewish supremacist settler colony. That's exactly what it is. And here's Holocaust survivors. Dr. Hayo Meyer, Auschwitz survivor, said this, call Zionists what they are, Nazi criminals. Here's another one. Israel's former ambassador to UN calls Palestinians inhuman animals. Dan Gillerman says he is very puzzled.
Hold on again. What did I just read you from this article here? About, it was earlier on. Hold on. All right. From childhood, Jews are taught that they are disliked for no rational reason, and Israel is assurance against another Holocaust. This attitude dehumanizes their opponents and prevents the need for genuine self-criticism. There you go. It says traumatizing people and convincing them that that irrational fiend, all right, which they consider the Palestinians and any other person that comes up against them, threatens their survival in an effective form of mind control. Such people will throw morality and reason to the wind and, if necessary, become savage, mindless killers themselves. There you go.
by the constant concern for the Palestinian people. Yeah, they're inhuman animals. So you have to do that in order to be able to genocide people. You have to tell yourself, you have to dehumanize them, make them less than human.
There you go. And didn't Henry Kissinger, the late elder statesman, make a comment during Vietnam about the American soldier being what? An animal?
Human, so you could slaughter them and sleep at night. And that's what they do. That's what Zionism's all about. That's what it's all about.
Just as the same people, wink, wink, have done since the time of Columbus. It's the same people. It's the same people. The nation of Edom, whether they call themselves French, German, Italian, Dutch, American, Israeli, it's the same fucking people.
And it is built on stolen land that's not their own. And as Christopher Hitchens said, it was always a bad idea to try to start a Jewish state on stolen land from Palestinians. It was never going to work because you're occupiers. That's the problem. They're occupiers.
Colonializers.
So, okay, I don't know if you feel sorry for that guy or not, but there you have it. That's the story. See you January 11th. I'll be in Waikiki.
So there you go. All right. Like I said, I was going to try to be quick about this one. But in any case, I hope whoever views this video has been an Israeli soldier, expresses regrets, and unalives themselves. This has been the Jimmy Dore Show. And as I always say at the end of my videos, be aware of your surroundings, especially now. This so-called holiday season, you know, people are more depressed than usual. And again, pray always. All right, so with that, until the next video, hey, shalom.